People who post NSFW pics on Reddit. Have you ever been approached by a fan? If so, how did it go? A friend from high school who I knew of but didn't know DM'd me on Facebook, letting me know that there was a website dedicated to identifying Gone Wild girls. They had most of my pictures, my full name, my hometown, state, and college. That was like 5 years ago, and I haven't posted to Gone Wild since. I owe her a lot.
We now have a Discord. Check out the server in the link in the description.
Story 2. I used to sell my underwear, socks, and stuff online during my college years. I hardly ever met with clients, but met this guy, let's call him Jim, a couple of times in a coffee shop to hand him the package because we lived in the same city. Super quick transaction. Hi, thanks, have a good one, all was fine. Happened maybe 3 to 4 times. Always the same order. Fast forward to a couple years later, I was invited to a job interview. Got there, met the CEO, and we talked for a bit. Everything went great. I met a couple of other people and everyone seemed utterly lovely. At the end of the interview, CEO tells me to wait a bit because he wants me to meet the head of my future department. Well, Jim walks in. I probably wouldn't have recognized him if he hadn't acted all weird and pretty much fled the room after like 30 seconds of awkward staring. I got a call later from him today. He apologized and said that he was looking forward to working with me. I ended up taking another offer. Still get texts from him from time to time asking if I'd still sell him stuff though. So yeah, that was fun. Story 3. I went on a date with someone from a dating site, and while at dinner he proceeds to tell me he recognized me from Gone Wild, and that's why he wanted to go out with me. It was very awkward after that, and we didn't have a second date. Edit. Some questions answered. Dude said the only reason he wanted to go out with me was because I was on Gone Wild, and then proceeded to keep asking questions about it despite me several times trying to change the subject. He didn't ask me anything else about myself and often hinted at wanting to be a part of my pictures. When's the right time to mention seeing your date's nudes? Answer. I feel you could at any time as long as you don't make it a big deal. I would think around the second or third date and just make a casual or funny remark depending on the person. Ideally, that person would mention it to you when it started getting serious, to see if it made you uncomfortable. Why was it awkward if you posted the nudes? Did he not get a second date with you because he saw your nudes? Answer. It was awkward because he stated that's why he went out with me, and then continued to talk about it despite me being clearly uncomfortable. I was younger then and didn't know how to handle these types of situations, so I just tried to change the subject. Story 4. Yep, I had my picture/post on r/progress pics go fairly viral. It was on the front page all day and menshealth.com reached out for an interview. It was at a time where I didn't understand how Reddit worked. I used this same account, the one I'm using now, to post my gay adult content on various subreddits. It never occurred to me that people who began following my account because of that post now see all that stuff. A couple months after my initial post went viral, I was at a coffee shop here in Salt Lake City, when a really nice guy came up to me and told me my weight loss post inspired him to finally tackle his obesity. He also, despite being straight, said I had a beautiful butthole and wished that his was like mine. It was an incredibly sweet encounter and I was super happy for him, but I later made a new account for my nudes. I can't say I didn't like the attention, but damn, it was embarrassing. Story 5. I used to take and post nudes in cosplay. Full-on cosplay smut to satisfy people's kinks and fantasies. It was fun and I got mildly known in certain niche fandoms, but since I'm not American, I was sure nobody would know who I was in real life. Until one day I went to a con wearing one of my latest cosplays, and I ran into a group of cosplayers from the same series I was doing. One of the girls went, "Oh, you look like a guy I follow. He do nudes and stuff. Funny, right?" Like, fully thinking it was just a coincidence. I later told them, yeah, that was me. Opie, be honest. The only reason you tell them that was you is because, you wanted some. You can admit it, it's fine. Story 6. I had always really struggled with body image stuff and didn't want anyone to look at me for the most part. I found this app called Mobly, which was essentially Instagram for dong pics. I had lost a few pounds and decided to take a leap into the deep end and post a few things, since I got to control who could see my private pics through a request/accept system. One was a photo of me in my underwear. Someone apparently stole that and posted it on Tumblr. I'm kind of a stocky/fat hairy guy with a beard, so I never imagined that happening. But I met someone at a party weeks later that recognized me from it. He told me he saw me there and I felt sick. I asked him if he remembered where he found the post and sent a link, and there I was. Face and all, with the camera situated to put my junk all in the viewer's face. It had been reblogged like 700 times already, including by some magazines specific to guys like me apparently. 700 reblogs is not a lot, right? So the fact that someone recognized you from it is just terribly unlucky, I think. That's rough, OP. Story 7. I was approached by a guy on Tinder. He sent me a link to my profile and asked if it was me. I said yes, and he immediately started begging for a date. I said no, and he started to get threatening. He was like 40 and I was 18. I didn't know I could restrict ages, and I don't remember swiping him. I told him if he ever contacted me again, I would go to the police and unmatched/blocked him. The week before I finished college, I saw him interviewing to be an IT support guy. I am so glad I finished when I did. Story 8. It was this past New Year's. I ended up at a punk bar in my city, and this dude kept checking me out from across the dance floor. And he finally approached me and was like, "Is your name Ava?" I kind of figured it out right away where he knew me from, considering I use this name for this type of stuff only. Anyway, I was pretty smashed, and we started hanging out, and long story short, we ended up going back to his mom's place at like 4 a.m. It was a solid 35-minute Uber ride away from where we were, and I remember telling him we should have just went to my place because it was only 10 minutes away and I live alone, although I didn't realize we were going to his mom's place yet. Anyway, we end up at his mom's house and we stayed up until like 7 a.m. chain-smoking menthols and talking about video games. Eventually, we made out and tried swapping head, but we were both too tired and drunk by that point, so I just told him I wanted to sleep. We went to bed only for us to be woken up like 1.5 hours later to him receiving a phone call that he's late for work. At this point, I felt like trash and needed more sleep, so I just rolled over and passed back out. 2 hours later, I woke up and was like, oh crap, I'm in some random house and I don't know where I am. And then I heard someone walking around outside of his room. Well, turns out it was his mom. And I had to make the walk of shame past her and outside to my Uber, hungover as crap with my makeup all screwed up. 3 out of 10. Would maybe do again. Story 9. I used to post. It was an overall good experience and helped me a lot with my low self-esteem. After about 6 months of posting, I got a text from my friend asking why I posted a nude of myself on Instagram. I thought it was a bit weird considering I don't have an Insta. I then found out that someone had created a fake account using my real name, and invited a bunch of my real-life friends and acquaintances to follow the account. Once they had a decent following, they started posting everything I ever posted on Reddit. They had also created a Snapchat account and simultaneously started sending out pictures on there too. It was one of the worst days of my entire life. At the end of the day, I got a message from a random person on Reddit who claimed to be the person who did it. They gave me a list of everyone they sent stuff to and detailed exactly what content was sent to who. I asked them why they did it, and their response was, "I don't know." So yeah, I don't post stuff like that anymore. That's so weird to me that someone would choose to make someone's life all messed up just for fun, or, like, as they say, I don't know. That's insane. Insane behavior. Story 10. I don't post my face in my pics because I don't want to be recognized. I have had some people randomly message me on Reddit asking if I was their ex-girlfriend or a girl they once knew. One guy from Australia literally argued with me about it, insisting I was his ex. I've never even been to Australia, and I've never dated an Australian guy. But hey, maybe I have an Australian doppelganger. Story 11. I had an awkward situation wherein my fan was my ex-husband, who creepily let me know he wasn't pleased with the content I was posting. I hadn't changed Reddit accounts after we divorced because I figured we were all adults who had better things to do than Reddit stalk each other. And I didn't particularly care who saw what I posted, so I just kept on doing what I do. Eventually, my account came to feature NSFW photos of my new husband because we were posting it in kink communities. I really didn't think anything of it. Everyone is welcome to see my husband's ween, or so I thought. Shortly after the first photo of my husband's wang, my ex picked up our kid for their visitation time and he looked pissed. I was met with the most hateful scowl when I said hello. "You know you're still using the same Reddit account you had when we were together, right?" He basically snarled at me. I brushed it off with a laugh and said that I didn't want to lose all of my useless karma, so I'd never bothered to make a new one. "Well, I just think it's weird of you. You know that I know what it is, and I'm going to keep checking it as long as you have it. You can't expect me to do anything different. I'm going to keep checking it every day." To say I was surprised would be an understatement. He looked so mad and seemed completely justified in what he was saying. Like it was the most normal thing in the world to be quietly stalking your ex-wife's Reddit for nudes. And even more normal to suddenly tell her about it when she posts another man's dong. He left with our kid right after, so I didn't have time to say much about it. What I did have time to do was delete every single post on that account, save for the NSFW ones of my husband, and just let it sit like that for a while. He looked like he was about to explode when he brought our kid back, but remained silent. When I outright deleted the account a few days later, I got an angry text saying, Well, you didn't have to delete it. As far as I know, he still has my nudes saved on his phone. I'd imagine he still looks for my posts on the old subreddits I used to frequent. Joke's on him though, I only post NSFWs of my husband on a side account. I haven't been naked on Reddit for some time now. Story 12. My last flatmate had an on-again, off-again physical relationship with a local girl he met on Tinder. They would hook up for a couple nights and then she would fall off the face of the earth for a week or two. Repeat this for months on end. I stumbled across her on r/roast me a few months ago, and we had a great laugh over it. The next morning, though, things got weird. A Redditor went through her post history and found some old pictures she had posted in an NSFW community with her husband. All of that confusion started to make sense for my mate, and the discovery brought him whatever closure he felt he needed from the situation. Love doesn't last forever, but those naked selfies do. Story 13. This happened to my husband, not me. While we were dating long distance during undergrad, my husband and I would send nudes to each other. One of the guys who lived in his building asked to update my husband's computer, which required him to have his Apple password. This friend had a crush on him, and proceeded to go into my husband's photos and save the nudes to his phone. 3 years later, we find them plastered all over gay porn sites on Tumblr, with my husband's full name, Instagram and Twitter handles, as well as his college. Keep in mind that husband is in school for secondary education, and these pictures could have a huge impact on his future career should anyone else find them. Long story short, filed a police report because we knew who had stolen and posted them. Police think husband is covering up a relationship with friend, and have trouble believing his story. It's been a year and we've had no progress, except for Tumblr taking down all NSFW pictures. Husband has some residual PTSD from this and has had major depressive episodes during the 1-year anniversary of finding his nudes online. Story 14. Not me, but still a spicy story. A friend of mine who started working a couple years back in a well-known company was advised that a middle management girl made tons of adult content back in the day. Not your average vintage soft kissing stuff, proper butt drilling. That was back when the "this will never make it back to your country" rhetoric was thrown out. And yeah, I wouldn't believe it myself, but all those videos are right there on the internet to this day, and it is 100% her. Will not be giving the name. It didn't go all that well for her because she had a couple of breakdowns due to it. She kinda wings it best she can, but it's quite taboo to mention it. Story 15. A girl in my friend group used to have a MyFreeCams account, and during a drunken night let it slip, and joked that we couldn't find it amongst the thousands of users anyway. So the guy she was talking to pulled out his iPad and was like, "I'm gonna find it now," jokingly. Somehow, her account was in the top 3 rows or so, and everyone found out her username. I remember it got really awkward and he apologized like 1,000 times, saying that he never thought he would actually find it, much less in front of 3 other people. If I recall correctly, she got on her phone and was able to hide her account. After that, we all pretended it never happened, and said that even though she seemed really cool about it and not bothered, that night she kinda just rolled her eyes and laughed about it, she was devastated and embarrassed when that happened. Moral of the story: if you see someone you know, just jerk it and forget about it. They don't want to know you found them, and contrary to popular belief, telling them makes it much less likely they'll hook up with you. Story 16. Okay, so I don't really post or sell content on Reddit, but before Tumblr went to even more crap, I used to post a lot of lewd and nude photos and self-content. Unfortunately, people in my hometown found it pretty quickly. Close friend and I had a falling out and he told everyone. I've been approached multiple times, but my personal favorite was a 21 male that saw me in the dollar store. I looked like trash. I literally had my hair in a 3-day depression bun. He stared for a solid 2 minutes while I was finishing up and checking out, and then caught me in the parking lot. He asked me if I was blank, and I said I was. He proceeded to talk about how I was his favorite amateur adult model, and he buys my content constantly and he's a huge fan. Cool, great, no biggie. We went our separate ways after an awkward selfie. A week later, my town has our first Pride event. It was a huge deal for us because we are a tiny southern town. So of course we had a lot of backlash, but we were excited. My mother is super supportive of my sexuality, and came out about hers shortly after I did so. She came with my friends and I. Lo and behold, 21M is there. He tried to strike up a conversation again, and I told him I was enjoying my day with my friends and mother. He let it go but was visibly upset. About an hour later, I couldn't find my mother, but my brother said she told him she was going up to the nature trail. Now, in my town, the nature trail off from the park is where everyone hooks up. I was like, oh no, someone should find her, but I was in the middle of something important, so I sent my brother. My brother returned 20 minutes later, looking horrified, to tell me that he found 21M and my mother hooking up in a small cave off the nature trail. They continued hooking up for like 3 months, and he still tried to hook up with me too. It's been a solid 3 or 4 years, and he still hits me up occasionally. This dude took that one straight from Xbox Live. All those kids that said they were gonna bang your mom, guess what? This guy did. Story 17. Not quite the same thing, but this guy offered to pay me $1,000 a week for pics and videos on Kick. I was like, oh word, yeah, okay. After a few days, he started getting really demanding, not respecting my boundaries at all. I didn't want to include my full face in the pics/videos for obvious reasons. And when I said I wasn't comfortable with some of the stuff he wanted, he flipped out and threatened to put everything on Reddit. Thankfully, Kick has a pretty legit policy against harassment, and you can report whole conversations and get Kick to work with law enforcement. I threatened to contact them and he had a meltdown. He apologized and blah blah blah. This was literally yesterday. I learned my lesson. Wish I got paid though. I'm trying to get a new place and could have used the cash. Story 18. Not on Reddit, but on the hub. The wife and I get it on, and the page has over 60 million views now. Not what either of us expected at first by any means. I work normal jobs and get recognized by awkward customers and coworkers. Usually it's just my suspicion because I can tell they are trying to figure out where they've seen me. But one time I overheard a coworker who I didn't know knew accidentally refer to me by my performing name. We left our hometown a few years after getting married, and legend says we are super popular there now. We both weren't so much in high school. A part of me suspects now, after reading about the Gone Wild problem with doxing, that our info is being similarly shared, which is why I feel the need to be armed just in case. My lady, too. Story 19. This happened long before Reddit was even around, but I remember the most popular girl in my school was everything you could want. Every dude wanted her and every girl wanted to be her kind of situation. We will call her Molly. She, of course, only dated older, mature guys. But I'll be damned if I didn't rub 1 or 7 off to that cleavage. Anyway, 2 years after high school, I walk into a strip club for a birthday party in a state across the damn country from where I graduated. I grab a seat and start to enjoy myself. 10 minutes later, and guess who walks into the main stage? None other than Molly. She recognized me, and that $20 lap dance was absolutely worth the money. She had a Tumblr for a while and then just stopped posting one day. As far as I know, she doesn't have any social media, but a few friends have told me she's married with kids now.